Hey everyone, welcome back to the Life Ain't Bad podcast, where you get your fortnightly or even weekly dose of pseudo-facts from a mid-20s guy going through the thick of it. I'm Oliver, and we'll be talking to the locals in Malaysia who aim to make a difference and find out how we can improve our lives from their journeys, and also foreign sensations and professionals when we can get a hold of them. We'll also be discussing how to get over struggles that we weren't taught growing up. In a nutshell, come and grow through life with me as we learn how to get over our emotional struggles and be better versions of ourselves, whatever that means to you. Before we do get started, I'd like to say I'm not a professional, and whatever I'm sharing today is of my own research, opinion, and experience, but I sure do hope it helps you out one way or another. So you know what we do here. First things first, how have you been? No, please tell me you don't have to ask me how I am. Okay, you got me. I've been feeling great, and life could not be more complicated, but in a good way. Now, how about you? Well, it may be a little difficult now, but things always get even better, because right now, you're aware of how you're feeling, and that's the hardest and the first step. Today, we'll try and deep dive into something that lots of us have trouble with, and that's taking the first step. What does it mean to take the first step, though? What is the first step? Surely we can't take a step if it's into the unknown, where all uncertainty lie, and the only outcome we can possibly foresee is failure. Can we? I'll share my experiences before we jump right into it. So I'm a Southeast Asian, meaning that, like most Southeast Asians, I grew up being told what was good for me and what I should be pursuing, which are mainly professional careers that are heavily reliant on good grades. If not, however, I wasn't to embrace what I enjoyed either. A lot of the time, even if I did not realize it, I always felt in order to be successful, I had to tick several items off a checklist, such as getting straight A's, make it onto the school's athletics team, be president of a club. In a sense, I always knew what the end goal was, and understanding what to do was easy, like study hard for good grades and practice to be good at violin. I even had interests in debating, of which I did great, but because debating wasn't a real skill that had a clear path leading into a professional career, or had a clear correlation to earning loads of money in the future, debating wasn't exactly culturally recognized as advantages as an adult, so I wasn't pushed into it deeper compared to being pushed into a classical instrument like the violin, or even kumon for other Asians out there. But I did get some support for the debating, of which I'm extremely grateful for. There's almost a rigidity in this checklist, but somehow this checklist lifestyle was great because we knew what we needed to do when our goals were aligned for us. However, now as an adult, we don't really have an end goal anymore, now do we? I mean, I consider taking care of 10 dogs, of which 6 of them are Rottweilers, an end goal, but hey, in a more universal sense, no one is there to really dictate what our goals are anymore. I don't have to get straight A's anymore, meaning I don't have to study anymore, meaning there's no more metric of success. I don't have to become an inter-school, inter-district, or international athlete anymore because maybe I'm past my prime. There's also no time limit to push myself to achieve certain things anymore, meaning there's no more urgency. With all this in mind, I feel as if I don't know what's considered a success anymore. If I can't show off the A that I got in chemistry once, how else will I truly feel alive again? Without a metric of success, I constantly feel as if I'm in the dark and the unknown scares me. What's next? Who's next? Where are you taking me? I'm scared. Let me go. In the end, I stopped myself from trying because if there's no end goal, is there ever truly a milestone where we can deem ourselves successful? If we can't define that milestone, then surely I can only fail. Come now, let us join hands sonically and reject our brain's futile attempts to ruin our day. Now, I know what you're thinking. What does any of this have to do with anything about taking the first step? Well, when you ask yourself what stops you from taking the first step, there are a variety of reasons that we tell ourselves when we don't want to, say, go for a run so I can be healthier, or do your assignment, or clean your room because that chair in the corner can't hold any more weight of your clothes. Procrastination is a bitch, which is also today's topic, procrastination. I know you've probably watched loads of videos and read up on different ways to stop yourself from procrastinating, and they've told you to just do it. Just do it. Just start. But come on now. I can't even get myself to shower. How on earth am I supposed to start my side hustle? Well, today, I'm going to be offering you outlooks on how I've left procrastination station. First off, how can you tell if you're procrastinating? We need to know why we procrastinate, and according to Tim Pitchell of the Carleton University in Ottawa, procrastination is an emotion regulation problem, not a time management problem. You could tell yourself that you procrastinate because maybe there's just not enough time in the day, that maybe you're just a lazy person. But procrastination is a different beast altogether. We procrastinate because we want to soothe ourselves and repair our short-term mood, which places our long-term benefits at detriment. Really simple example. You don't want to exercise for the 15 minutes you told yourself to do every day because exercising hurts and it sucks. The idea of exercise makes you upset and stressed, just like working on your assignments or working to get your side hustle off the ground. So you drop it because if I'm not feeling it right now, I won't do it well anyway. So hey, let's go do something fun instead. We do this because we're trying to soothe our emotions. We do this because of present bias, which is when we tend to prioritize short-term needs ahead of long-term ones because we weren't really designed to think ahead into the future because we need to focus on providing for ourselves in the here and now. Think of cavemen back in the day when they would hunt to protect themselves right now, to feed themselves right now. They're not going to think about building a hut they will probably use only in the year ahead. They're going to use caves. In a less sciencey way, a lot of the time we don't view things we have to do as the first step or the next step. We see it as a mile or a marathon. We see the end goal, but not the process and progress that you have to go through first. It then gets super overwhelming. Emotions go bad and then we put it off and go to the nearest Starbucks and treat yourself because you should always practice self-love. Okay, yes, please practice self-love, but doing the things you need to do is the most powerful self-love you can provide for yourself, alongside a caramel macchiato with double shots of espresso and whipped cream. That's my order, if you guys were curious. So again, there are a huge number of reasons as to why we procrastinate, like not believing that we will enjoy doing a specific task. We're trying to avoid making ourselves unhappy. Maybe we fear that we won't do a certain thing well enough. We may be focused by the complexity of the task. Or we're overly distracted because we have our phones directly next to us with notifications blowing up every 5 minutes. Or we're just overwhelmed and fatigued as hell. I could go on. But we dive deeper into the psychology. It's because we lack confidence. We may suffer from anxiety. There may be a lack of structure in the way we live our lives, or maybe you fixate on negative thoughts too much. Like, dude, relax. I'm here to tell you that just because you gave your dog a different look today doesn't mean it hates you now. It'll still eat your poop like it's its own. Dogs won't get mad at you like your mom does just because you gave it a weird look. Mom, if you're listening to this, don't ask when. Far too many instances, but I still love you. Okay, relax. You could try 1,000,000 procrastination hacks, and I'm sure you've tried a few, but none of them have worked effectively. But that's because you haven't really found out what kind of procrastinator you are. This is where we dissect. Now, if there was a way to eliminate procrastination, obviously it would have been eradicated from the face of the earth by now. But it hasn't. And that's because you haven't identified what kind of procrastination you do. Now, this categorization was brought to my attention by Dr. Alok Kanoja, or Dr. K for all you gamers out there. Or if on YouTube long enough and you're super interested in how the brain works, then you will probably know who Dr. K is. The first one, and the one I relate most to, is the idealistic procrastinator, or as I like to call it, the perfectionist procrastinator, or PP. If you're like me, a big PP, then chances are your procrastination is because you fantasize far too much about what you want to achieve. In my case, I think much too far and too much about what I want to do. You start quoting things like, or along the lines of, when I'm ready to make this perfect, I'll do it. You can map everything out step by step, like I have, and still, you won't have the drive to do it because every step you gotta accomplish, you're thinking about perfecting every aspect of it. Or you can't study first because you need to make sure that you get all the notes done first before you can fully review a chapter. You can't start doing this project at work because you're waiting on someone to give you some information so you can perfect the first bit of the project. You'd rather not do it at all if it ain't perfect than to start and it's bad. Basically, if it's not good enough, why even bother? If any of this sounds like you, then perhaps you're my kind of procrastinator. Big peepees. I've had fights with myself when I tell myself that I'm going to wake up at 9 a.m., start work at 9:30 a.m., and get stuff done. I have a whole master plan of what I'm going to do the next day. But what happens next might shock you. I get up at 9:30 a.m., and then my day falls apart. My plans are ruined, and they won't be perfect anymore. Bad PP. Maybe I'll relax a little bit. Oh hey, it's 5 p.m., the day's over. Next. How on earth can you fix this? Well, first and foremost, with most issues that you may encounter, you must first acknowledge and accept that you are chasing an idea. You must first acknowledge and accept that you are chasing an idea. The perfectionist and idealist scenarios are really, really hard to achieve and perhaps downright impossible. Then, you can start to be sad and allow yourself to be sad, so you can let go that you won't ever achieve perfection every single time. Now, this is where you adjust your expectations and be realistic. Your first project that you've been tasked to lead isn't going to go smoothly. The first vlog you're going to make isn't going to be at Casey Neistat's level. Trust me, I've accepted that myself. Unless you studied things like that, then hey, I'm proud of you. Get it done. You don't start out perfect. You just start. Unless you're literally a natural that was shaped by a really irregular upbringing, then yeah, sure. But I'm pretty sure most of us are normal. What I'm trying to say is, suck until you don't suck anymore. And the faster we accept that we suck at everything new we do, then we can truly move forward. It's okay to suck. The internet has tainted my mind. But anyways, I think one of the reasons why we hold ourselves to such a high standard is because we downplay people's hard work in getting to where they are. We dismiss the hard work necessary to get really good at anything. A crazy stat that I got from a productivity YouTuber known as Ali Abdal is that with YouTube channels with 1,000 to 10,000 subscribers, they had an average of over 60 uploaded videos. That's quite a fair few videos. And their first videos might look like yours as well. So you can only imagine the amount of hard work that million subscriber YouTubers had to go through to get to where they are. You're not going to believe this, but not every video of theirs is perfect. So what makes them different? They just do it. And they don't worry about the quality as they do it, because the more you do it, the better the quality gets. So don't worry about perfecting it now. As long as you get better every day, you get to where you want to be. Remember, practice makes progress. Practice makes progress, not perfection, progress. Now, if you procrastinate but this doesn't sound like you, then here's another kind of procrastinator that you might resonate with. The Avoidance Procrastinator. Now, this type of procrastinator tends to do so due to emotions. And by emotions, I mean you're trying to avoid certain ones. In a way, you procrastinating is your very own built-in protective system. But in this case, if you're here looking for some info about it, then maybe you need a system that protects you against yourself. For example, procrastinating asking your boss for a certain something, like a raise, or if you can take a day off simply because you're afraid of backlash and potentially negative responses you're going to get. I've been in this same boat before, and I'm here to let you know that there's nothing to worry about. Or perhaps you delaying yourself from working out today because you don't want to experience the pain of cardio again because that makes you sad. Thing is, with this type of procrastination, we reason with ourselves so much, and most of the time we'd come up with the excuse of, now's not a good time, or I'll do it when X happens, or when I'm feeling a little happier. We're always trying to rationally justify what we should do, when in reality you already know what you should be doing at this very moment. If you think about it, emotions affect your thoughts heavily. But do your thoughts affect your emotions? As in, can you manipulate your emotions just by thinking? Can you tell yourself to be happy when you're feeling down? Not really, right? Maybe you can, but that takes a lot of practice as well. If we could, however, none of us would even try and find ways to help ourselves anymore. Instead, if you don't really notice, your emotions, in a subtle way, control what you're thinking to rationalize your emotions. So, how do you go about minimizing this type of procrastination? First of all, you've got to understand and determine what emotion you are feeling or trying to avoid. Is it fear, anger, disgust, shame, loneliness, annoyance, and etc.? It goes back to the saying I've mentioned in a previous episode. What we resist persists. Once you've accepted that you're avoiding a feeling, you now need to find out what consequence you're trying to avoid. An example for me to show you that I truly am human, just like you. I avoided telling my girlfriend that I bought a few $100 worth of books to read the other day because I'm afraid of the emotion of annoyance from her, stemming from the fact that she's upset that I decided to drop money so willy-nilly like that. Plot twist. She wasn't annoyed at all and encouraged me to read. Crazy, right? I know. Not the her being encouraging part, but the part where I was afraid of something so it stopped me from doing what I knew I should do. After diagnosing what emotions and consequences you're running from, you then need to take a step back and ask yourself, how would someone who is in my situation feel? Ask yourself, if I had a friend who felt X emotion because of Y consequence, what would I say to them? Then, tell all that to yourself and do it. All this sounds really easy to do, and in fact, it may sound really dumb. But it is so damn difficult to listen to yourself because your emotions cloud your judgments. However, think about all the times you listen to a friend's advice rather than your own. You possess the same extent of critical thinking as them, so why wouldn't you be able to assist yourself with your own situation from a different lens? You got this. We got this. Lastly, there is another form of procrastination, the Operational Procrastinator. And unlike its abbreviation, we want it to be less OP in our lives. Another gamer reference. Nice. Quick question. Think about your past for a second. Has there been an instance where you faced a seemingly hard to impossible task that you didn't think you could accomplish, but after you did it, you thought, hey, that wasn't that bad? I'm not talking about things like cleaning your room, even though that can be hard as well. Harder things. Things you thought you couldn't accomplish. If you really dig deep, perhaps there is one, be it from a professional working environment or even sports during your high school days. I know, exams in high school. Even that counts. You see, one thing that seemingly hard tasks have in common is that our brains have difficulty engaging in them because they are unclear. Example, when someone tells you that you need to find a job, how difficult and tedious and exhausting does that sound? Where do you even start? What job do I even want? Oh my god. But then you actually get a job and think, oh, it really wasn't that bad. I should have done it weeks ago, or I could have done it this way or that way. Wow, what a realization. Every year is a year of realizing stuff and realizing things. And if you realize where this reference is from, you have probably achieved true realization. Shout out to Kylie Jenner, you absolute philosopher. You see, abstract tasks are extremely difficult to execute. Why? Because they're so vague. Like, what does be healthy even mean? So now, I suppose you kind of know where I'm going with this. How do we overcome this form of procrastination? The solution is simple. First, make starting as simple as possible, and you can do this by breaking down the vague task into as many steps as you can by writing them down. According to a study by Nelson Cohen, a psychological sciences professor at the University of Missouri, our brain's average working memory capacity is only 3 to 5 items, meaning we can keep an average of 3 to 5 to-dos in our brain. So what happens when we have more than that, which naturally comes from really vague tasks? Our brains are going to get overwhelmed. The logic behind this is that if there are too many things to do, our minds are going to work overtime. And that sounds a little like anxiety. But what if you don't know what you're supposed to do? Well, start out with the task that you do know you got to do. Over time, as you do them, you start to pick up things that should be added into the list. It's really natural. Sure, there may be loads of things you got to get done, and that in itself gets overwhelming as well. But checking them off day by day would allow you to gain momentum and get things done. It'll make you feel much better and the task will get easier. Reminder, you don't have to finish everything in a day. We're trying to take the next step here, not all the steps. Like finding a job again. You can list them out like this. Make a resume. Polish up a resume, send the resume to employers, go to interviews, and etc. And if making a resume feels hard as well, break that down. Title, photo, accomplishments, education, and etc. Take getting healthy, for example. Chances are, if you weren't into getting healthy in the first place like I am, you'd be overwhelmed with all the things you don't even know. Getting healthy isn't even a goal that can be measured, or it takes an extremely long time and requires adequate knowledge on training regimes and nutrition. But the thing that's important about it is that you learn along the way. So start by breaking down healthy things you can do every day, like run for 15 minutes, 25 push-ups a day, or even dance in your living room to your favorite tunes when you've got time to relax and maybe when no one's looking. I don't want anyone I know see me flossing. Dancing and flossing are also exercises and allows you to be active too, okay? Don't focus on getting it right. Focus on getting it done. I'll give you a little teaser as to what I've learned to help tick things off a checklist. I love lists. Make it convenient to always start. I'll give you an example to illustrate what I mean. You want to get healthier, so you plan to go to the gym before or after your workday. To kick your ass into gear, if you plan to go to the gym in the morning, once you wake up, ensure that your gym clothes are directly next to you and your bags are all packed the night before. This gives you an internal impetus to get you out of your warm, soft bed and get dressed. Once you get dressed, the momentum will start kicking in and you'll think, I'm already dressed. I might as well get in the car and just like that, you're off. This can be applied to anything that you intend to take steps towards accomplishing, like building up your resume. I can let you know right now, every time I think of updating my resume, it's a slugfest because I just put it right off. But what I did was never close a document every single time I closed my laptop. When I turned it back on, my resume document was always there waiting for me. Like Hachiko, only I don't want its loyalty. Eventually I thought, heck, it's annoying the hell out of me. Like, how would you even, it's like how you would have 100 tabs open on Chrome during an assignment period. Yeah, low-key that was irritating. Couldn't find a tab which was playing music. Still can't find it. What I'm saying is, lay everything out and make the action of starting easy. Like placing the book you want to read very visibly on your table so you pick it up whenever there's nothing else better to do. Like, why is it when we've got nothing to eat for lunch do we decide to go for fast food instead? Because it's tasty. Duh, silly. No, I'm kidding. It's called fast food for a reason, right? In summary, the fear of taking the first step could be lumped into an overgeneralization of procrastination. When in reality, even if we were to call it procrastination, there are wide varieties. Different professionals would name them differently, and there is no one-size-fits-all solution, which is why we haven't eradicated it yet. Can you imagine a world where nobody knows how to procrastinate? We'd be living on planets light years away from Earth. You and I would probably be powered by electricity and not oxygen anymore. That actually sounds pretty good. The 3 types I've mentioned today, which are PP procrastination, aka Perfectionist Procrastination, Avoidance Procrastination, and Operational Procrastination, have stifled the way we progress in life. But there are ways not to eradicate it per se, but to control and minimize it. You could have collected these 3 procrastination types like infinity stones, but that just means you're the best procrastinator around and you're the biggest PP. I'm kidding. If you are all 3, then you also have, hopefully, 3 solutions that may help you. Hopefully. I'm here to remind you that if you do procrastinate and aren't able to take the next step today, it's not the end of the world because you may now have the tools to help yourself out. Before I leave you today, let me offer you one last thing. I know I've referred to these terms today, but there is no first step and there is no next step. There is only the only step that you can take. When you think of something as the only step, I'll tell you now, it's helped me narrow down my idealistic goals of success and exaggerated fears of failure, because if it's just the only step that you can take and you somehow mess it up, you can just let yourself know that the only step you need to take is forward again from your previous setback. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and I hope it helps you in some way, as it has helped me because I only want the best for all of you. If you really like the podcast and you think it could help a certain someone, share it with them and let them know where they can find it. lifeaintbad.podcasts on Instagram. All other links can be found in the description. Also, if any of you have a certain topic you'd like me to discuss with you, shoot me a DM and let me know. For now, this is Oliver signing off. And remember folks, life ain't bad. It's just complicated. I'll see you in the next one.